So imagine your life is a full circle, like different aspects of your life is a full circle. Your work is probably like that much of the pie. The rest of it is everything else about you, your hobbies, your personal life, your family, your relationships, your friendships, all of that, and then there's your work.
But how we look at it is the opposite.
It's the opposite.
I have cried at every workplace.
I've never spoken about it. His mother went and told him that, oh, you can't be with her because she has this. And that reinstilled everything that all these people were telling me. And I was like, shit, okay, I guess this is a big problem and I'll never be happy.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to The Art of Owning It. This is Saadia Hossain and you're watching episode 2 of the Corporate Barbies.
Let me break the ice for you. The best corporate Barbie I know.
I love you. So today we're diving into some fun and very heartfelt conversation with Moumita Majumdar. Welcome, Moms.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and I feel like a celebrity.
You are a celebrity through and through. So how about we start with a little introduction?
Hi, I'm Moumita and I met Saadia at 82 East where we both were colleagues and now we're way more than colleagues. I have come straight from the airport and the first thing I've done is come and meet her and do this. So yeah, that's what she means to me. I have been a PR professional for almost 10 years now, working with brands, figuring out their comm strategy, etc., all the cool things and not so much also at sometimes. But apart from that, I am a Calcutta girl through and through. I was born abroad in Moscow.
Fancy.
So I came here when I was 4 years old and ever since then I've been living here. Calcutta is an emotion to me. So I can go on and on about that. Currently, I'll talk about what I'm currently obsessed with. That's probably going to give a little bit of introduction about me. I am currently into F1. Like, I'm obsessed with that sport and all the people, and I've just been following like the historical races as well and everything about that. Dogs, that is, I think, not a current thing, but yeah. And traveling. I love traveling, I love reading, I love watching good content.
Let's start with the corporate aspect of this podcast since we're calling it the Corporate Barbies. So what drew you to PR and was there like a specific moment or experience that made you feel like this is the path for you?
Yes, there was actually. I know a lot of people don't have it planned, but for me it was the opposite. So, let me dial back. When I was growing up, I used to watch a lot of food shows like Travel and Living. I used to come back from school and I used to eat lunch and watch those travel shows, repeat telecasts, because those usually used to get telecasted at night during those times. So I used to come back from school and watch the repeat telecast, and something about that just really fascinated me. And cut to watching Wake Up Sid.
Okay.
And I think also Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, these two moments I really remember. These movies I really remember because Ranbir Kapoor played the character of a journalist, traveler, etc. And that's what I always actually wanted to be. I wanted to be very specifically a food host. I would go around, I would host a show for a channel. Very specifically, I wanted to do that for the longest time. I remember also when I had just gotten done with college, through a contact, I had gotten in touch with someone from Fox Traveler also. I had reached out to the person, but things never worked out, obviously, and I was like, what do I do? And then through my college placements, I anyway got a job, a publishing job, which is actually not something that I ever wanted, but campus placement. So I took it up. 1 year of that told me that no, I'm doing the wrong thing and I need to go back to, what my dream was. So now, because I didn't want to be a typical journalist where I would probably like write stories or whatever on different beats, I thought the other way to get into this would be through PR and communications. And also, the second part of this was that my first job, which was the publishing job, was a complete desk job. and I was so bored. I love talking. I'm a person who
Clearly.
can go make friends and all of that. So I used to get so bored sitting there. So I was like, a publicist is something that I could also probably explore, and that will probably get me into these networks. And so yeah, that is when I decided to be a PR person. Here I am, 10 years on, not been able to become a food host. So if you ever become super big and just take me as your co-host. That is why I'm super excited about this podcast, because this is probably the first time
And
I'm
it's
getting
your-
even close.
Yeah, and
you
it's
know?
your dream to have a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think I really relate with your journey, because even I used to think that I really loved the beauty industry or the fashion industry, but I didn't want to do something that everybody does.
Yeah.
I was always inquisitive about who handles tech of these beauty companies. So when Dot and Key happened, it was like a life-changing experience
Yeah.
to me. But what people don't know is the 10 months before Dot and Key, when I was
Yeah.
cognizant,
Yeah.
and 6 months down the line, I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me.
Same thing happened to me. I can totally relate. But I think those experiences then get us to.
Yeah, I have learned a lot
Yeah.
from that. But yeah, the spark that I saw in your eyes when you're talking about that food journalism
Yeah.
and everything, so I can totally relate.
Yeah.
I can totally relate. So, given we're talking about your industry, what is one myth about this PR industry that you want to just bust right away?
Honestly, it's very sad because everybody knows what PR. I mean, people always talk about PR, but they don't really know what it's for. Like, I have struggled so much. So the first 6 years of my career, I was in an agency, so that was all good and fine. But the moment I went on to a brand side, it's always a struggle to justify why I'm even here. Like, what are you doing? Because PR is not revenue driving, right? It doesn't get revenue for a
Is
business.
it brand awareness?
It's pure brand awareness and maintaining reputation. And also it's a support function, right? It's not like the main thing that a company is running on or whatever. So constantly there's this struggle. I mean, you know a little bit about it, where you're constantly justifying why you're doing what you're doing. So I think that is something that is, I don't know, it's not a myth, but it's a challenge more.
Like, it's very flashy.
Yeah, I was thinking of it.
But the reality of it is not that.
Like, it is, when you're actually doing those events and when you're doing those things, like, I can talk about a couple of things which were super cool. But then it's great when the people understand, your management understands, okay, this was done for this particular reason. It's not done to, drive revenue. To everybody, PR is about awareness, maintaining perception and reputation of a brand.
It's like at the core,
Yeah.
but you don't get enough credit for it, if I can say it.
Yeah, PR, it's a thankless job, for sure.
You've mentioned that I've worked with you, and because of that, I know that you will always go that extra mile for work, and I've seen you go that extra mile literally and figuratively. Literally, because you've uprooted 5 lives for
Twice.
a job twice, and figuratively because I've seen you work, and you don't work like you're just an employee for this brand. You work like it is your brand.
Yeah.
So when you move cities or you put in so much work, and then you hear industry leaders say stuff like, I regret that I can't make you work on a Sunday, or what do you do at home, just stare at your wife? How does that make you feel?
Shit. As it would, but I've actually learned to cut away from all the noise, and actually took me a lot to get to this point. Earlier I was super emotional, like again during my early years.
You are still very emotional.
No, so imagine earlier though I
Oh
was
God,
yeah.
I think I am there right now.
Yeah, and you have probably seen me be emotional about like other things.
Yeah,
like,
personal stuff.
not work.
No, not
work wise, I know how to maintain a stoical face now. But back then, I used to be super emotional about work as well, and anyone used to say anything, it used to really affect me. There were tears, blah blah blah, all of that. Until like one person in life, my mentor, and this has always stayed with me. She told me, so imagine your life is a full circle, like different aspects of your life is a full circle. Your work is probably like that much of the pie. the rest of it is everything else about you, you know, your hobbies, your personal life, your family, your relationships, your friendships, all of that, and then there's your work.
But how we look at it is the opposite.
It's the opposite. But you know, that was a wake up call for me, because before that I used to make everything about my life, it was all about work. And I'm not saying that I've deprioritized work or anything. Like, work is still important. I mean, we are very passionate, ambitious people, right? So it's not like we're working just to, I don't know, make money or run our households or whatever. I think we are the kind of people who are working because you're passionate about work also. But that doesn't mean that you make everything about your life about it, and you're stressing about it, your health goes for a toss, you're, you know, constantly in an emotional slump, all of that. That is what I learned from there. And hence these statements also then just seem like noise to me. Earlier, I've also been privy to some of this, because again, when I started my career 10 years back, it was very much in fashion to say things like this. Work-life balance was not a thing. Yeah, I mean, things are, I feel, still getting better with
people are at least pretending.
Are calling out and all. I mean, yeah, and then there are, you know, people are scared also now because so much gets called out on LinkedIn, etc. But earlier that was not the case. LinkedIn was barely, I think, there, and it was the norm. We used to, I mean, I have worked till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and it seemed very normal to me. Like, you know, my point is that back then I used to get affected when I used to hear statements like this, which I've heard. Now I don't care. I mean, if anyone will come and tell me anything, just whatever, do your thing.
You're saying that you're very emotional even professionally then. I feel that is where I am right now. I have cried, and I have cried at every workplace till now. I don't know how to get out of it. So you said that one moment that really changed your life. I'm really waiting for that moment to happen, because I'm someone who's so invested in work, and I ignore my health, I ignore my well-being. I think we all heard that Epigamia co-founder thing, that he had a heart attack.
Yes.
And that was shocking. And I feel like we hear so many of these stories every single day, but we don't take anything out of it.
Yeah. I am at that stage in my career and life where I am taking those things seriously, and I think you will get there.
Yeah.
A big moment for me was, again, I think during COVID. I was constantly falling sick and all of that. I was like, you know, this is when I need to sort of also take a step back, prioritize my health, all of that. And see, that's my point. Emotional, you know, no one's asking you to not be emotional. Like, I am also still emotional because that's my personality. That's the kind of person I am. But I will not show my vulnerability in an office space.
Yeah, I think that
I
takes some experience to.
Yeah. So now I will. Earlier I would be like on spot. Someone yelled at me, wahi pe bang, has happened. But now I will just maintain this straight face, and then I will probably come back home and bawl my eyes out still, because of course it hurts, right?
You've learned how to not show your vulnerability, but I feel that I get personally attached to every single thing. For example, if we take this topic of feminism, and I feel like every time a woman out of all people come out and acts like, you know, feminism is a bad word, I take it very personally. What is your perspective on that?
I mean, if I've understood correctly, you're saying that how can you not get attached to things when someone is something that you're passionate about, when somebody is talking shit about that thing, or what?
Yeah, why do you act like it's a bad thing, it's a bad word, just as simple as that. Like, I remember this comment from Kareena Kapoor. Some reporter asked her, are you a feminist? So she said that I am not a feminist, I support women, or something like that. And I was like, those two sentences really mean the same. When you make comments like that, then you make it feel like feminism is a bad word.
And honestly, I think because people anyway don't understand the term fully.
Yeah.
They're scared because I feel deep down maybe a lot of them don't adhere to the term feminism. I'll give you a simple example. So I remember I was talking to someone and similarly, we were going in a metro. I was in Delhi only then. And this person was all about feminism. And then there was an old man sitting in the Delhi metro ka ladies' seat. Old man, not even a young man. And this woman went and told him that, can you please get up? And I was shocked. I was like, you're talking about equal rights. And look, if you're pregnant or whatever, I understand, you get a seat. But how can you fight with an old man
for a seat?
How is that equal? So I feel like women probably are scared because
some of them
To
they
admit,
misuse it.
yeah.
We do see a lot of cases also where it's very unfortunate to see them behave a certain way.
And then
Yeah.
they're proclaiming that they are feminists.
Yeah, because of that, the rest of us they
Get a
sort
bad
of
name.
get a bad name. Okay, so let's take a step back and talk about your relationship with your mother, because I know you share a very strong bond, and that is something that you and I have in common. Like even I'm very attached to my mom, which is why I can see that she has shaped you into this strong,
Yeah.
independent, very determined, but deeply emotional woman. Like if you were a real life character, I would say women written by women. So can you share, like, just take us a bit through that
The journey.
relationship?
You know, it's great that you asked, because right now what you see, that was not the case like 15 years back.
Really?
Yes. So my father passed away when I was 13. And of course, I was super close to my father. I think that's a very daughter and a father thing. So I was super close to him. Going with the normal thing, I sort of went the rebel way. Because obviously I was 13 years old, right? I was not understanding what's happening. I was super hurt. I was anxious. I mean, I had a lot of anxious
Just
anxiety.
qualified to be a teen.
Yeah, and also that, you know, I remember very clearly back then, I never processed the grief back then, because I just got into like school activities and this and that. So anyway, my point is that my relationship with my mother went super sour at that point of time, because again, I was an angsty teen, doing all the wrong things, blaming my mother for like trying to hold me back. You know, she was trying to discipline me. So we had a really, really volatile relationship from say when I was 13 till about 18.
Oh,
Not even 18, till I was in till I graduated. So that's what, 2020 I think is when we graduated, 2021. So till then we had a very volatile relationship, and then I left home. So two things happened. When I left home, I of course realized my mother's worth, and my mother also. So her main fear was that she would always think that I'm going the wrong way, I'm going to end up being a failure in life. So that's why she also used to constantly like
title,
which is fair, because
Yeah.
she used to see me like just spending all my time with friends and doing this and doing that. But what she was not realizing is that I was constantly also doing well, and I was getting good grades, and all of that was happening. And then when I went into college, IIMC post grad is when I actually sort of flourished, because I was doing the thing that I wanted. So I remember that I got a scholarship, like, and that scholarship was based on merit. Obviously, like all scholarships are, but no, what I mean to say is that it was like it was not a pre-scholarship. Like the thing was, they would see how your grades are, and then they would give that scholarship.
That's so good, because they're not judging you based on something that you've done
before. Exactly. So that was great. I sort of got that scholarship, and I ranked third in India. And my mom
Oh, wow.
was like, yeah. So then my mom was also like, okay, chalo, she's done whatever, but she's figured it out. And that's when my mom and my relationship started sort of turning 180 degree. 360 degree would be going back to the same 180 degree. And Saadia, she's my best friend now. I call her more than I call Zayyan. Like literally. Like,
Zayyan is her husband,
yes.
by the way, for context.
Everything that happens, like, even though we stay in the same house now again, thankfully again after so many years, I'm still calling her up like 5 times a day from office. What are you doing? Are you okay? Have you eaten? It's crazy.
That's so beautiful, because even I sort of fight with my mom. I don't fight a lot, but when we do, I realize that because she's treated me like an equal, and she's given me so much support. Even when I started as a content creator, she was the one who pushed me. Every time I post something, she's the first one to share it on her WhatsApp, and she constantly plays it. And wherever she goes, she's like, subscribe to her channel. So
she's the biggest cheerleader.
Yeah,
basically.
she is. True, she is. So yeah. So now that we're talking about your family, and we've also touched upon the topic of you moving cities, and you've mentioned Zayyan already, so let's talk about your super supportive husband. I mean, the way you and Zayyan show up for each other, it really, reaffirms my belief and faith in marriage. So just tell us about him.
Oh, I met him at work. It was like instant sparks flew sort of a situation. Love at first sight. I don't know what you call it. It was very filmy. Like running behind
You
buses.
are finishing.
Yeah. It was all of that. And then again, our relationship was also not the smoothest because he was acting like a cool. He's 2 years younger to me, so of course, all of that. So in the beginning, he was like, "Oh, I'm commitment phobic,
Oh.
and this and that." Now the tables have turned, and how I've been blessed because he's literally following me around the country.
Yeah, it's a one-off relationship because wherever you find a job, he moves.
Yeah.
That is not something I've
Yeah.
seen.
And it's actually not twice, it's thrice now that he's moved for me. Because the first time he did it again, unofficially, not admitting that he's done it for me. This is back when we were dating. 2018 we met and he was in the Delhi office, I was in the Bombay office. So we were talking. And 2019 Jan, he calls me up, he's like, "Oh, I'm moving to Bombay, I found a job there." I was like, "Oh, how come Bombay?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm just bored of Delhi, I want to explore Bombay." Now he of course tells me, "Yeah, part of the reason was that you were there." But yes, I'm really blessed.
For a man to step down and say, okay, your career is as
Yeah.
important as mine.
Yeah.
So if this is the
Yeah.
job for you and this is correct for
Yeah.
your career, then I'm okay to
Yeah.
move for you.
Yeah.
That is a very big deal.
Yeah.
Very
He's-
big deal. Hats off to you, Zayyan.
Yeah, I think it also helps because he is also career oriented, right?
Yeah.
And again, he supports women working and all of that. He's not like I guess
He's not,
nowadays
yeah.
everyone is
No,
sort
no,
of.
no.
I mean, he really, of course, jokingly a couple of times, after marriage, I've been like, "Oof, I'm so done with work. I'm just gonna quit my job and just become a housewife." And it's like, "What are you saying? No, never." I mean, of course, I joked about it, but he is always just like pushing me to do more and more. When it comes to work, he's my biggest cheerleader. He's always hyping me up. If I'm stuck, if I just call him, I'm like, I have to do this, I'm not understanding. He literally like talk to me about ideas. He'll take me through like things I can do, and I guess it also helps because we are from the same industry. Again, his upbringing probably that he
Yeah.
turned out to be. His parents are also like super ambitious and career oriented. So I guess it's all of that.
Now the big question. You've navigated through the challenges of an intercaste marriage. So what were some of the hurdles that you faced and were you able to overcome them?
When we got married, our story got featured in India Love Project, which is a
Oh, wow.
page that talks about intercaste and interreligion marriages.
One second, I'll find that article and I'll link it in the description for you guys to read it.
Done. When that story got posted, so many people reached out to me that we are struggling with the same thing, so please tell us about how you did this. So yeah, I would take this opportunity for anyone who's struggling, hang in there. So I always tackle a problem by figuring out the root cause of it. Of course, when our thing sort of became public, my mother, of course, in the beginning was like, "Oh no." So my mother is super liberal. She's not also overtly religious. Like, of course, she prays and she does all of those things, but she's not a fanatic about anything. So, but her point was very simple. Her point was that they do everything differently and we do everything very differently. So, I don't know if you'll be able to adjust in their household. That was my mother's problem. I figured out that she was thinking that Zayyan and his family was basically different from us. All I had to show her that we're all the same. And there really is no difference. It took 2 years, but I finally got her to come to Delhi and spend time with Zayyan and actually see that for herself, that he's the same. And that time his mom had also come. So they all met. Our mothers met, Zayyan met my mother. Instantly everyone clicked and it just became a thing. And yeah, I remember by the end of that trip, our parents were booking venues for the marriage.
But I also feel like you have this sensibility because I remember we were having a conversation in a group and there was one topic and then you said that it's a very small thing, but if you don't do it, it all boils up and adds to the fact that you don't want to tolerate each other. So that sensibility is something that I feel we've lost. But do you think that there is light at the end of this tunnel? And I'm not saying that it's just from one end. For example, when I shifted to Mumbai, I faced a lot of issue in finding a house
Yeah.
because I was a Muslim.
Yeah.
But when I posted this on Twitter with this hope that people will help me through it, and I happened to write this one sentence saying that I'm facing a little difficulty in finding this house because I'm a Muslim, Alhamdulillah. So I use that word Alhamdulillah, and there were Muslims also commenting that did you use a certain word because you want to get sympathy or because you want to use it to your benefit. So it's both sides.
Yeah, you know, when you ask me the question light at the end of the tunnel, honestly, I'll say no. Because I'll tell you why. Not at least currently, because you know, I used to think that our generation will be the generation to break the cycle. I thought ki theek hai, parents are conditioned, whatever, Hindu Muslims are enemies, they are conditioned like that, so fine. Our generation is more liberal. We've grown up with, like, my childhood best friend is a Muslim. I've literally grown up with her in her house and all of that. So I genuinely thought our generation would be the one to break it, but you would be shocked to hear some of the things that even I've heard, like, my generation people say from both sides.
Yeah, of course.
And that's when I'm like, then when will this end? Because if people who we hang out with, like people who we consider our friends, also think like this, and how much will you fight with one person? How much will you keep telling that person that, dude, what the hell are you saying? You know, and then they continue to be a part of your lives, and then they will also obviously pass on the same. That's why I think, like, I feel like this is really a very hopeless struggle.
Let's keep this topic aside and let's talk about something very, very personal.
Yes.
So body image is something that's a very sensitive topic, and I remember I did a post on how PCOS just literally plays with my weight, and you found it to be super relatable. So are you comfortable talking about vitiligo?
I've never spoken about it, so this is the first time that
Did I pronounce it right?
Vitiligo, yes.
I
Yeah.
Just your journey of making peace with it,
Yeah.
and what you'd like to suggest people who are struggling with that, or just any insecurity in general.
You know, this also, so I'll tell you, this also actually comes back to the society, and I realize that everything that affects us, it all boils down to log kya kahenge. And it just applies to so many things in your life, it's not even funny. So basically, I got vitiligo when I was still in school. I think I was 6-7 years old, so I've had vitiligo since then. Of course, my mother freaked out. She was like, oh my god.
Do you want to first define what it is?
So vitiligo is basically white patches on your skin, and it's not curable. I think it's controllable, but it doesn't go. Like, I think you can control it, but it doesn't completely go away. Winnie Harlow, I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly, no?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the right person.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
has vitiligo as well. Michael Jackson had. So these are some famous celebrities who've had it. So, you know, when I got it when I was 6-7 years old, of course I was a child. I didn't know I didn't know anything. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But you know what? Everyone around me at that point of time, like my help, my house help, my cook, my relatives, বাবা সাদা দাগ হয়ে গেছে, বাবা সারা বডিতে ছড়িয়ে যাবে, কি বাজে লাগবে, বাবা মুখেও চলে আসবে, বাবা কেউ বিয়ে করবে না তোকে. That's what I've heard growing up from that impressionable age. And of course it fucked with my mind. Like, excuse my language, but of course it did. Like, I grew up thinking that, oh my god, I'm ugly. I have something which is so ugly.
So unfortunate.
Yeah, and I'm getting emotional. But, you know, I stopped wearing like short skirts and frocks and all of that. And, you know, it's so sad, like, now that I think about it. Because when I used to go to school, of course, our school uniform,
Yeah.
and you know, it's so sad because I'm stepping out and everyone is just staring at your legs. And I'm like, so everyone used to also make me feel like, oh my god, what's wrong with her? But you know, it's funny because my friends didn't. They always still made me feel like a queen, and you know, they were like, who cares? Just wear
Shout
what
out
you
to
want.
those friends.
Yes, my school friends like Suman, Urvi, Prerna, all these people, Manini, like they just, from when I was young, they always told me. Urvi, though I remember Urvi and Suman, they literally used to, because at one point in time I stopped owning like short clothes, and they used to give me theirs, and they're like, you wear it, you wear it, and you come out with us. So anyway, and then what happened? I started dating someone, and everything was great with him also. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's not all that bad. Like he doesn't care. But his mother went and told him that, oh, you can't be with her because she has this. And that reinstilled everything that all these people were telling me. And I was like, shit, okay, I guess this is a big problem and I'll never be happy. Then I think I got out of Calcutta. And that changed things. Again, I don't know if honestly, after I got out of Calcutta, nobody looked at me that way. So I don't know if it's something to do with, I genuinely don't know. But after that, again, shout out to Zayyan, because he also actually was the one who made me feel so beautiful. Like he made me feel so beautiful. He always told me that, and his parents also. Like, I'm married. So, yeah, I'm married. To everyone who said I'll never get married. But yeah, society can really...
yeah, it takes a toll on you.
I was,
devastated.
Yeah, for a long part of my life.
Yeah, I can only imagine, because I've like always spoken about how I was very conscious about my lips being a little thicker, and boys used to tease me, and that's a very small thing compared to your problem. But
nothing is small.
Yeah, to each its own.
Yeah,
and I used to feel so conscious that I would not smile like fully, and I used to hide my smile, and that was always like, now I look back and I feel like I've lost good years.
Yeah, exactly, worrying about all of this.
Yeah. Okay, I think we need to shift gears after a very heavy conversation.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever spoken about this, so thank you for...
And I'm sure it'll help other people.
Yeah, I
it's
hope.
important to speak about the struggles that you've already conquered.
Yeah, like do not let anyone tell you you're not beautiful. All of us are beautiful. All of us are amazing in our own way. Just own it, and to hell with anyone who says otherwise, because at the end of the day, you are gonna kill it.
Yeah. Okay, so I need my phone for this segment. Alright, so we're gonna play a quiz. It's a brand quiz. So basically, I'm gonna pop a few questions, and you have to name a brand that fits that description.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is, which brand's communication strategy feels fresh, relatable, and absolutely like on trend? Nike. Next question, if you had to pick one brand with the strongest LinkedIn presence, like engaging content and community building, which one will it be?
So I really think that they're very on point, on trend with their marketing initiatives. Yeah. And I think they do most of it in-house, which is also great.
Yeah. Okay, next. Which traditional Indian brand has successfully modernized itself to connect with today's younger audience?
Unilever? I think through its various brands.
Yeah.
Lakme. Look at how Lakme revamped with the new collection.
And it keeps on. I think my mom used it. Her mom used it. And we are also using it.
So they, I think, are the masters.
And even like Amul, the way they pick memes. Every single meme that's there on the market, they pick it and then they advertise or they market it.
You know, it's great you said Amul, because still I was in 82 East, and KP and I used to travel together to office. So when we were crossing Tilak Bridge, we used to always see the Amul billboard, and I think that's a permanent Amul billboard. So every other day it was whatever.
Very creative.
Yeah, and we always used to like sort of see that, and yeah, they're also.
Okay, next. So if you were starting your own PR agency, inshallah, which Indian brand would you want as your dream client?
Heads Up for Tails.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense, no?
Yeah, because of your babies.
Yeah.
Bella and Maguna.
Yes.
I am, very scared of dogs. But the way you talk about them and the way you remember when I came to your house, I said, okay, maybe I am ready to, break this.
You
fear.
did, no?
No, I didn't. I escaped.
I
just thought of it. But yeah, maybe someday. Maybe when I come to your Delhi house.
Done.
A brand you saw on Shark Tank that you'd invest in?
Paradise.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I have loved them. You know, I
Is
remember.
this Paradise?
Yeah, this is Paradise again. Shout out to them. So when I saw Paradise on Shark Tank, I was obsessed. Reached out to them also. I was like, give me a job. But then I realized it was in Ahmedabad. I was like, itna bhi pyar nahi hai ki now I'll move to Ahmedabad for this.
So
Paradise
maybe
was-
this is a hint for Paradise to sponsor my next podcast.
Yeah.
You never know. Even I know a brand. So basically, I was watching Shark Tank one day, and there was this guy called Jugadu Kamlesh.
Okay.
So
Oh,
he
yes.
is
the farmer
who had
yeah,
this
yeah,
like pest
yeah.
spreading machine.
Yes.
And it was so unfortunate that these are all super successful entrepreneurs is sitting there, and it was only Piyush Bansal who invested in it.
Yeah.
So I feel that if you reach a position like that, I feel you should always invest in the heart of the country.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to give you like 2-3 options, and you have to pick one brand. So these are brands that basically do the same thing. You have to pick your choice, okay? Zomato or Swiggy?
Zomato.
GPay, PhonePe or Paytm?
GPay.
Flipkart or Amazon?
Amazon.
Nykaa or Purple?
Nykaa.
Boat or Noise?
Boat.
Obvious choices.
I
Done.
use them.
Dunzo or Zepto?
Zepto.
Big Basket or Blinkit?
Blinkit.
Uber or Ola?
Uber.
Oh. Now I'll name brands and you
Okay.
have to say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Zomato.
Quirky.
Amul.
Legacy.
Lenskart.
Pan India.
In shorts.
Authentic.
InShort actually has a very, very good culture because one of my friends, Senorita, she used to work for
What a
InShort.
name. Lovely name, Senorita.
So she used to work for InShorts
Yeah.
and then she fell ill, and the way these guys support it, so it's actually a brand that looks after their employees, and she even did a post. If I can link it in the description, I will. She did a post on how they supported her when she really needed it. So yeah. Next is Paperboat.
Amras. I don't know why that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I mean, does the job.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, Nykaa.
Sakina.
I was saying the same thing. And now Vaishnavi.
Now Vesh, but I mean Sakina just feels OG, no? Like yeah.
I mean, Nykaa is being known for Sakina.
Yeah.
That's something. Amazing answers, Moumita. That was it. That's the podcast. Before we wrap up, do you want to say something to the people who are trying to build their brand, whether they are content creators, whether they are brands, or basically people just trying to establish their presence on LinkedIn? What would be your advice to them? And maybe one mantra of how you own it, because we've really seen that you are one of a kind.
Okay, so I think for people trying to build their brands, and I don't know, it could be their professional brands or their personal brand, be authentic and listen to what your consumer wants. Consumers are very smart nowadays. You cannot faff your way through them. Like they will call it out. They will just not buy it. So do all of your research. Like invest heavily on research. Spend all your time on research. Figure out what your consumer wants and then focus on giving them that. And personally, be strong. You'll have a lot of things being thrown at you. You will have a lot of people doubting you. You will have a lot of people questioning you. But I think just know what you're doing. Have really solid answers to everything. Like basically, arm yourself with a lot of knowledge so that if anyone asks you anything, you have an answer to sort of give them and hence prove your mettle. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for blessing our podcast with your presence. And I think you've given us some food for thought, and you've really shown how to challenge narratives that are very sensitive. So thank you so much. I hope you liked this. If you liked and if you picked something from this podcast, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. If you feel that somebody needs a little reminder about anything that we spoke about, please share it with them. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you for having me.